Well, what happened Friday a week ago, we saw groups of employees, mainly rock drill operators, who were gathering at our stadium. And we then triggered our security and the police because we became suspicious that they may have been gathering there for a meeting, which we were obviously not aware of, because all union meetings get authorized, and they normally happen in the afternoon, not in the morning. So the police obviously arrived and spoke to the crowd, and the crowd had grown big, estimated to be in the region of 3,000 people. They then persisted and marched from the stadium to our offices. The police guarded them, and marching and toying and shouting and singing. At no point did we receive any memorandum or piece of paper to say this is who we are and these are our concerns. Somewhere towards mid-morning, they then were dispersed by the police. That's when it all started. How do we know these people? We know that they were mainly rock drill operators because our system can detect who is at work and who's not at work. And rock drill operators, obviously, the core of mining, and if they don't show up at work, there is no mining, because we need them to drill the rock before we blast and do the rest of mining. So it was very obvious and very clear that this was a group of rock drill operators. So they didn't leave us with anything, any piece of paper or their concerns or grievances, and they were dispersed. That's how it all started on Friday.
And this was an illegal strike?
It was, of course, illegal. They had literally broken all laws. And I need to emphasize this, because there seems to be a tendency to disregard everything and talk about what needs to happen and forget the fact that these people have broken law, okay? From the beginning, they didn't obtain any permission in terms of Public Gatherings Act. They had absolutely no respect for existing company procedures in terms of mass meetings, and absolutely no regard for prescripts of Labor Relations Act in terms of the rights of workers. Right. So that's how it all started, yeah.
Sure. Mr. Mugane, let me come here into the studio. Then, Mr. Mathunjwa, do you know these people who were marching on Friday? Are they your members?
According to us, it's a workers.
Who are they, your members or not?
Some of them are members, but you cannot say it's only AMCO members, because this march was not convened by AMCO, but are the workers themselves who arrange this march.
So your union didn't know anything about this march?
Our union did know about this march. How we happened to know about it is because Mr. Bernard himself, he phoned me personally 2 weeks ago and saying to me that they are a group of workers who are intending to serve them with a list of demand. Then I told him, I said, quickly arrange a high-level meeting with all the leaders of the union, including NUM, ourselves, Solidarity, and UESA, in order to look at those demands and be confined within the structures of the union. And he said to me he's still going to speak to Mr. Franz Balen, who is the General Secretary of NUM. I waited for 2 weeks, nothing happened. On the 10th, I also received a call from him that there are workers who are marching to his office. He will be arranging the SAPS to receive that memorandum. I then advised him that upon receipt of the very same memorandum, make sure that you convene an agent meeting with the stakeholders, as I proposed 2 weeks ago, which that meeting, it never took place. Make sure that you call the meeting in order to deal with that memorandum, with whatever is in the memorandum.
All right. So when all of this is happening, you hadn't heard anything from your membership. In other words, you were only informed by the company that there's a march. Your members hadn't told you that there will be marching.
In the mass meeting that we normally have at the mine, there was nothing such that was raised according to the branch structures of the union. I only knew from the management that there is an intention from the workers.
And you never bothered to ask your branch chairperson, branch leaders, whether they are part of this march?
We did ask in terms of what is really happening. They are saying, as part of this, they went to management and say, yes, they did hear that there will be some workers who are bringing sort of a memorandum to them. Please invite us into these processes. But the management, what they did, they neglected all the structures of the union and engaged those employees outside the structures of the unions.
All right, I'm going to come back to Mr. Zogwana just to find out then at what point does his union get involved. But again, Mr. Mokoena, it appears you knew that something like this was happening 2 weeks prior.
It's amazing how Joseph could lie before South African public with 10 people dead. He is insinuating he knew.
He is also insinuating that you knew and you called him. You called him 2 weeks ago to say there are these rumors, there's murmurs that people will be marching.
No. He's twisting the truth at the expense of 10 lives. There are no engagements. We have not engaged these groups of people, and it is still our position. We will not engage people who engage in criminal activity.
Okay, but let's
outside
establish
union
the fact,
structures.
Mr. Mokoena. You never called Mr. Matendra 2 weeks ago to say that you have heard people will be marching. You never did that.
I called Mr. Joseph Mtinjwa on issues not related to what is happening now. What happened on Friday took us by surprise. People grouped and marched.
I think maybe I cannot respond whether you're calling me a lie or whatsoever, but the fact...
He says what you're saying is a lie. That's what he says. It's clear.
I mean, Mr. Mokoena, we respect you. You called me 2 weeks ago, and I even confirmed the very same conversation with Jomo Kwadi at your mine. And Jomo confirmed that, yes, you have phoned him and told him that he was speaking to myself. And I advised you, I said, Mr. Mokoena, call NUM leadership and also call UESA and everyone in terms to deal with those issues. But you never. And secondly, you are misleading the public by saying you never engaged those employees. You offered them 700 rand. That was your management who offered them 700 rand.
When was this?
I think was maybe those 2 weeks ago, but there was in terms of our union structures at the mine, they said the management did engage. They even said let them form a delegation to engage those workers, and then the offer was made, which was 700 rand. But today is misleading the public as if nothing has happened.
Mr. Mokoena, I'm going to come to you, Mr. Zuma.
Mr. Joseph Kolani, in the mining industry, we have what we call industry bonuses for different categories of employees, and those are prerogative of management. Why would anybody fight if they were paid money? For starters, it doesn't make sense to me that if employees were given a market allowance, they are fighting and killing.
Okay, but did you offer them anything in the past 2 weeks or so?
That's a market allowance which is common to all categories
the
of
very
employees.
same workers that
it's
actually
not
we're
negotiated.
talking about. All right,
Yeah.
the very same workers. So in other words,
Yes.
they did engage you. They did come to you. They raised their concerns, and you offered them 700 rand.
No, those market allowances are prerogative of management. They are done throughout the year to different categories. It was not a demand. They never demanded to get market allowance.
How many workers did you give 700 rand?
Well, we're talking about 4,200.
The very same
across the
workers who are
operation.
out on strike, the very same rock drill operators, are they the same people that you offered?
Well, it's
700
rock
rand?
drill operators, it's assistant rock drill operators, it is a whole category of rock drill operators.
All right.
Yeah.
Somebody must take responsibility, and also the statements that are being uttered must be responsible. Tsepo Etladi.
Olani,
Yebo.
you've got 3 irresponsible, lying individuals there. Let me start with the company. Mr. Mokoena, you're a reckless dealing company that is standing up to lie to the nation. And I can hear from your starting that you were trying to shift blame by saying first people didn't have a right to start to come together, and story that came up until now still lying. Mr. Zogwana, I'm sorry that you are playing politics. With 10 people dead, you can't even take ownership that when people are just passing by your office, you shot at them and take that responsibility. Mr. Matunja, I'm sorry you are an opportunist. When you saw an opportunity, you went in and wanted to abuse it. 3 of you You should be standing up in the community, in the society, nationally, saying, we're sorry and we're going to stop this nonsense today. Everybody's going to go to his quarters and we come back and deal with this. Because I don't understand. Why are you discussing this nonsense that you are telling people that 10 people are dead? None of you are taking responsibility. You've got a company that says it was wrong for people to meet. When they know that they met people, they started giving wrong signals, which people took up. And you have a company that says we are right by giving people on the sideways because we don't have evidence. Then you have a union that says we have been here, we are gatekeepers. Then you have a newcomer who's opportunistic and saying, but let me see how I maneuver around this thing, even though I see there is something coming on. Guys, take responsibility and stop this nonsense.
Mr. Mathunja, let me start with you. What is the current situation on the ground at the moment and what should happen going forward?
I don't know whether should we start by your question
One or two.
or should we go back
a broad response to some of the comments made.
AMCU is not an opportunistic union. We don't go and camp to any company. We are called by the members or the workers who are dissatisfied with NUM services.
What is the state of play? Where are people going from here?
AMCU's position, we regret of what has happened. And two, what we want to see, let all the stakeholders sit around the table and go to those workers and address them and try to pursue them to go back to work and let the management sit with the unions.
Will you do that as AMCU?
We can go even now. And it's unfortunately when AMCU is taking a responsibility of being a leader to go to the workers, we are labeled as thugs, we are labeled as the people who are responsible. Are the people.
Is that the reason why you haven't spoken to them since Sunday?
Who?
The workers. Have you addressed them since Sunday?
Monday, our General Secretary was there.
Okay.
The president of NUM, when our General Secretary goes, they saying it's because we orchestrated, we are behind it. So when we take responsibility, we are labeled.
Because I want to get a final position from everybody. Mr. Zogwan?
Xolani and listeners. Let me explain something I didn't explain as to how should NUM members be part of the march if NUM says it's not part of the process. People, Xolani, against their will, were forced to go to the mountain. They've been calling us.
But, also explain to us what is this thing about the mountain? What happens at the mountain?
I'm told that there's a small mountain.
I saw the hilltop on
hilltop,
TV.
Yes.
Yeah.
That hilltop has been used as the place where people are meeting to plan their if on Sunday when people were attacked and the two security guys were killed, it was from that mountain. People were forced to go on against their will to the mountain. As I can tell you even now, some of them are calling the NUM to say, look, we're here. We want to come back and work. But unfortunately, the level of intimidation is very high.
So what are you going to do as NUM?
As NUM, as from yesterday, we had a mass meeting, one of the mines called Eastern Platinum, with plus minus for 5,000 workers. They are ready to go to work. And we're saying as NUM, let everybody go back to work. Let leaders publicly apologize to the public for what has happened